you believe your thoughts are yours. That what you feel ends inside your body. That your decisions are free, conscious, isolated, as if you were a point floating in an indifferent universe. But what if all this is just the surface? And what if the real reason for your stagnation, for the cycles that repeat themselves, and for the answers that never come, is it something that happens in silence, below the thought? Something that connects you to everything, even when you think you're alone. What's the name of this? Quantum Entanglement. But not like you heard in the documentaries, not even as physicists explain in laboratories. True entanglement doesn't just happen between particles. It happens between emotions, between stories, between frequencies. Everything you've ever felt, everything you refused to feel, everything you tried to forget, it's still vibrating on the field, connected to you, answering for you. And that's why you feel what you feel, even when logic says it shouldn't. That's why certain people instantly attract you, or irritate you. That's why certain patterns keep repeating themselves, as if someone is writing your life behind the scenes, because they are. And that someone is the one who got stuck between you and that thing you didn't want to look at. This video is not about theory. It's about release, about reconnection, about waking up. After him, quantum entanglement will no longer be a distant concept. It will be the lens that reveals why you feel exactly what you feel, and why your reality remains the same, despite every effort to change it. You are not separate. You are intertwined. And that changes everything. For a long time, I believed that controlling the mind was the way. That all you had to do was think positively, affirm with strength, vibrate highly, and everything would work out. But there was something that escaped me. As if, despite all my conscious effort, something deeper was deciding for me. It was on an ordinary night, after an exhausting day of trying to manifest everything correctly, that it happened. As I lay down to sleep, I felt a kind of heaviness in the air. It wasn't physical. It was as if old memories, emotions that I thought had been resolved, began to vibrate in the space around me. With my eyes closed, I saw scenes, people, situations that I didn't even remember anymore. But the strangest thing was the feeling, as if I was still connected to each of them, as if an invisible thread was still pulling me, even years after it was all over. The next morning, I began searching for answers, and everything pointed in the same direction. What you don't end with presence continues to vibrate. What you repress connects to you, and what you ignore intertwines you in silence. That's when I started to understand quantum entanglement, not as a scientific theory, but as an energetic truth of being. If you've ever felt like certain things stick to you, that certain bonds are never completely broken, or that there is something invisible behind what you attract and repel, you are feeling the field. You are feeling the intertwining. And that's exactly what we're going to explore now. But first, if this content is already touching you in some way, if what vibrates here inside makes sense in its silence, sign up for Paths of Light. This is a space for those who are tired of superficial content and wants to remember, from the inside out, that we are all beings of light, even when we forget about it. You think you choose what you feel, but really, you respond to what vibrates, and what you vibrate is not always current. It is the echo of what has not yet been resolved, the trail of what remains active in the field, even if you no longer think about it. This is the true impact of quantum entanglement. It's not about particles communicating over distances. It's about fragments of yours, still collapsing reality from bonds that have not been released. Everything you experience has an associated field. every memory has a frequency, and every emotion records a vibrational signature in space. Entanglement happens when you vibrate into something, and it vibrates back, even from miles away, even in another time, even without your current consciousness involved. And here's the detail that nobody tells you. You may be intertwined with past versions of yourself, with ancient fears, with guilt that you don't even remember anymore, with people who are already gone, but left active energetic hooks. And that's not mystical. It's emotional quantum mechanics. The field doesn't understand time like you do. For him, what you haven't released is still alive, vibrating, influencing. It's like trying to walk forward, with invisible rubber bands pulling you back. You feel like you are trapped. But what is stuck is your frequency. And until this frequency is reinstated, she will continue to attract versions of reality that only confirm her vibration. This is the cycle that no one notices, because it doesn't reveal itself with logic. It reveals itself with repetition. If something repeats itself in your life, it's not bad luck. It's countryside. It's a bond. It is intertwining. And here comes the crucial point. Liberation does not happen through effort. It happens through reintegration, for the recognition of the part of you that still vibrates in what you no longer wanted to feel. The question that remains in the air: with what or with whom are you still entwined, even without knowing it? And most importantly, what is being generated at this very moment from these invisible connections? In almost all authentic spiritual traditions, there is a quiet recognition that nothing is isolated. What you do resonates. What you feel spreads. And what you are influences everything around you, even in silence. But long before modern physics tried to prove this with formulas, the mystics already knew. The field responds to coherence. In Sufism, there is a concept called Tawheed, the absolute unity of all that exists. They didn't see the world as a set of parts, but as a single body, where every thought, every gesture, every intention reverberates throughout the whole. The Taoists already spoke about the qi, the vital energy that connects all things, and they taught that what you move internally moves invisible forces in the external world. In Tibet, monks train their minds not to become smarter, but for clear, unresolved vibrational bonds with everything they lived through. They know, as long as something remains intertwined, the cycle continues. And today, science is beginning to catch up with what the ancients already knew. In 2022, researchers at the Max Planck Institute demonstrated that quantum entanglement is not space-dependent. Two particles separated by kilometers responded instantly to each other. No delay, without physical means, as if they were one and the same thing. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. But maybe the ghost is just the part of reality you don't see yet. Dr. Joe Dispenza, when bringing together neuroscience and quantum physics, states, "The mind and body are intertwined with the field, and the field, in turn, responds to what you feel as truth." But perhaps the most powerful thing is what you've already experienced and ignored. You know that person who thought of you at the same time you thought of them? That message that arrived when you needed it most? That intuition that seemed absurd, but then made total sense? It was no coincidence. It was intertwining. But what nobody tells you is, quantum entanglement only remains active if there is an emotional charge sustaining the connection. And as long as this charge exists, even if it is unconscious, you continue to be a transmitter, an emitter, and a receiver. Therefore, releasing is not forgetting. It is to discharge the frequency that sustains the bond. But how to do this consciously? And more, are there any intertwinings that you chose to keep, even though you know they are preventing you from moving forward? Maybe what is still holding you back Don't be what they did to you. But what did you do with it, internally? Because quantum entanglement doesn't require intention. It just needs impact. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the bond. And the more you try to suppress it, the more the field amplifies. Now think about this. What if you are intertwined with versions of yourself that no longer exist? With decisions you didn't make, but you still carry as if they were scars? With stories that you believe you have closed, but still live in your body? What if what you call a block in life is just the reverberation of old connections still active, acting behind the scenes of your reality? You can change your routine, change your mindset, change your statements. But if the field around you continues to vibrate unintegrated memories, nothing really changes, because the strongest frequency wins, always. And here's the truth that hurts. You may be feeding, with your own feelings, the bonds you want to break. The more angry someone is, the stronger the link. The more guilt for something in the past, mass firm or. The more fear of repeating a pattern, the clearer the signal for the field to repeat everything exactly the same. But the field does not judge. He just tunes in. You don't have to fight it. You need to learn how to dissolve. And this is where everything changes. Entanglement is not imprisonment. It's portal. It's the point where your consciousness can step in and say, I recognize, I release, I integrate. But to do this, you need to first identify what are the invisible strings that still pull you. Who or what still vibrates inside you, even when you think you've overcome it? And even deeper, could your current self, is it really what vibrates most of the time? Or the field is collapsing realities from an old you that was never turned off? When you understand that you are intertwined, you stop fighting reality, and he starts talking to the field. You stop blaming yourself for repeating patterns, and begin to identify which part of you is emitting the signals. And that changes everything. Because true transformation doesn't come from trying to be someone new, but to release everything that still vibrates, without you realizing it. This is where you break out of the cycle, not by effort, but by presence. You start to feel what is yours, and what is the residue of unreleased bonds. Begin to recognize emotions that no longer belong to you, but still live in your field. And like that night when I felt the invisible threads vibrating around me, you begin to realize that what holds you back, it is not the past. It is the frequency you have kept active until now. The good news? The field responds at the same speed at which you become aware. When you see, the noose begins to loosen. When you feel it, the knot begins to dissolve. When you accept, the collapse happens. You don't have to understand everything, nor control the invisible. You just need to stop resisting the truth that the field already knows. You are connected to everything you have not let go of, and that is not punishment. It's an invitation. Because intertwining is not just a connection, it's an opportunity to integrate, to close, to be reborn. Now, stop and feel what still beats inside you, even when it is silent. What reality are you sustaining, just by still vibrating as someone you are no longer? And the most profound question of all, do you really want to break free? Or is there still a part of you that doesn't know how to live without that invisible bond? You don't need to answer now. Just watch the field. Because maybe what's coming in the next video? Not be a new teaching, but the final collapse of bonds you never knew were active. And it all begins when you decide to see, for real, what the field has always tried to show you.